that Commissioner Trevino is on. There
Hi,
you
I'm
are.
here.
Hi, Ibet. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I've had trouble with my microphone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear
Thank
you.
you.
Just fine, thank you. And I see that Commissioner Buford has joined us. And so has our first presenter, Mike Perella. So it's 1 o'clock on the dot. So we will officially start today's meeting. Good afternoon and happy holidays. Welcome to the December 13th, 2022 regular meeting of the Community Development Commission of Chicago. I am Gwendolyn Hatton Butler, Chair of the CDC and host of today's meeting. On December 9th, 2022, Governor Pritzker renewed his executive order proclaiming that all counties in the state of Illinois to be a disaster area. Section 7 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act allows the CDC, along with other city boards and commissions, to host virtual meetings during this COVID-19 public health emergency, provided that certain conditions are met. One of those conditions is that the chair of this commission determines that an in-person meeting on the scheduled meeting date would not be practical or prudent today. To ensure that today's virtual meeting meets all conditions of the Open Meetings Act, I am hereby making the determination pursuant to Section 7E2 of the Act that due to the COVID-19 public health emergency, an in-person meeting would not have been practical or prudent for today's proceedings. Therefore, in accordance with the Commission's emergency rules, this meeting is being held virtually on Zoom and can be viewed live via the Commission's website. A court reporter is present today to record these proceedings. Commissioners, you have all been designated as panelists, which allows you to control your microphone. Please remember to place your microphone on mute unless you wish to speak. If you would like to be recognized by the chair, please activate the raise your hand feature and you will be called in order. The agenda for today's meeting was posted on December 7th, 2022, both online at the CDC's website and physically in City Hall. Bob, before I do the roll call, can you confirm, can you let me know, have we received any written comments regarding the today's agenda items? You're on mute, Bob.
Sorry about that. We have not received any email or any other questions or comments from the public on this for this meeting.
Great, thank you for that confirmation. I will now begin the meeting with the call of the roll. Commissioners, when your name is called, please turn your microphone on, respond by saying present, and please also indicate that you can hear me okay. Vice Chair Newsom. Secretary Wheat.
Present, and I can hear you.
Commissioner Buford.
Present, and I can hear you.
Commissioner Chan McKibben. Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Curtis.
Present, and I can hear you fine.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez.
Present, and I can hear you.
Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Thomas.
Present, and I can hear you.
Commissioner Trevino.
Present, and I can hear you.
Chair Butler is present. We have a quorum. The first item on our agenda requests approval of the minutes from our previous meeting held on November 8th, 2022. The commissioners have had an opportunity to review the minutes, and if there are no corrections, I am looking for a motion to approve. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Wheat.
Second, Gomez.
Moved by Commissioner Wheat, seconded by Commissioner Gomez. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Commissioners, if you were not in attendance during the November 8th meeting, please abstain from this vote. Vice Chair Newsom, Secretary Wheat.
Yes.
Commissioner Buford.
Yes.
Commissioner Chan McKibben. Commissioner Cox. Commissioner Curtis.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Gomez.
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs. Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Trevino.
Yes.
And Chair Butler votes yes, the motion passes. The public was given an opportunity to provide written comments up to 24 hours prior to the start of this meeting through the CDC email address, which is cdc@cityofchicago.org. There were no written comments in the CDC mailbox for today's meeting. Commissioners, today's first item of old business is a request from the Department of Planning for authority to designate Park Road Development as the successful respondent to a request for proposals, an RFP, which was issued by the department on April 23rd, 2021. The RFP sought offers for the purchase and redevelopment of property located at 4000 through 4008 West North Avenue in the Pulaski Corridor Redevelopment Project area. Your affirmative recommendation today would support the authorization for DPD to negotiate and execute a redevelopment agreement with Park Road Development and would recommend to the Chicago City Council the designation of Park Road Development as the developer. The department also requests authority to reject all other responses to the April 23rd, 2021 RFP issued by DPD for the sale of 4000 through 4008 West North Avenue. Michael Perella will present the staff report on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development. Michael, you may begin when ready.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman. Can everyone see the presentation on the screen?
I can
Yep.
see it.
Perfect. Good afternoon, Chairwoman and members of the commission. For the record, my name is Michael Perella, Project Manager with the Department of Planning and Development. Today, I'm bringing forward a resolution seeking to approve Park Road Development as a successful respondent to the Invest Southwest North Avenue Corridor RFP, designate Park Road Development as a developer, and authorize DPD to enter into the redevelopment agreement with the developer so that the historic Chicago landmark Pioneer Bank Building can be redeveloped into a mixed-use commercial office and community center. The Pioneer Bank properties are located at the northwest corner of Pulaski Road and North Avenue in the Humboldt Park community area. It consists of two parcels, including the historic bank building and the not historic annex building next door. All the properties are located in the 26th ward, and Roberto Maldonado is the alderman. The Pioneer Bank building was home to the Pioneer Bank and later Banco Popular, and it's been vacant since 2008. It was built in 1925 and features a 3-story banking hall with columns, coffer ceilings, and terrazzo floors, and as well as office space located on the 4th and 5th floor above the banking hall. In 2012, it was designated a Chicago landmark. The current owners purchased the building in 2015, but have been unable to redevelop the property, and therefore it's languished as a community asset or unrealized community asset for the last 13 years. And with that, I'll take you through a couple slides showing the condition of the bank building, including its exterior and its interior as it stands now. And here's an additional slide showing the building context. I want to make note of the fact that that 3-story banking hall is, while voluminous, is not the largest space where users can generate and the space. The majority of office space or usable space is in the upper 3 office floors, while the banking hall has 2 mezzanine levels, about 7,000 square foot each, wrapped around 10,000 square foot banking hall space on the ground floor. So taking you back to the RFP process, and as you know, the Invest Southwest initiative focuses on reactivating neighborhood cores that have historically served as focal points for pedestrian activity and shopping, transportation, and public spaces. The North Avenue RFP was tasked with redeveloping the vacant Pioneer Bank building, as well as the vacant approximately 1-acre site immediately to the north. The RFP itself was released on April 21st, 2021, and sought to create an affordable housing and inclusive community, cultural, and commercial hub in the neighborhood. DPD received 2 responses and vetted those responses at a community meeting in September of 21 and through our own internal evaluation that fall. As part of the submission, Park Road Development, also known as Team Pioneros, propose to renovate the Pioneer Bank building into an office, nonprofit, retail, and community center, while also developing the vacant site to the north into 100% affordable housing development featuring a Chicago Public Library. DPD recommended that Park Road Development be the winning respondent because their proposal most closely aligns with commercial, residential, and community development goals set forth in the RFP document. Their history and track record of redeveloping properties of the size and scope, the inclusive and representative nature of their development entity, their community support both within the project and outside, and the overall commitment to design excellence and those goals that were set forth in the RFP related to design. The organization of Park Road Development is a partnership between Luis Puig of All Construction Group and Matt Mosher of Park Road Development. Also included in the development team is JGMA Architects, who will be the main tenant of the Pioneer Bank building. Matt Mosher leads Park Row and has extensive development experience, including affordable housing experience while he served as the Chief Construction Officer for CHA. He's worked on a diverse array of affordable housing projects across the city during his career. All Construction Group, which forms the other half of Park Road Development, has over 40 years of GC experience, including construction of the Altgeld Gardens Community Center and Library, a $21 million renovation of the former Pope School into offices for CHA, and the conversion of the vacant Aronson Furniture Store in the back of the Yards community into affordable housing. In addition, JGMA has extensive architecture and development and design experience, including a number of projects, including the master planning and redevelopment of the Lathrop homes, the SOS Children's Village in Roosevelt Square, and Quantrill Square nearby in Humboldt Park, the Esperanza Wellness Campus in Little Village, and the Grace Manor project in North Wandale and Ogden Ave. As stated, this action is looking for the CDC to recommend just for phase 1, which is the renovation of the Pioneer Bank building. Phase 2 will consist of the new construction element of the project as proposed in the RFP, which is a 9-story, 85-unit affordable housing development with a public library and health clinic. But financing for this project is still in development and it will be subject to a future CDC meeting and recommendation once resolved. So again, we're just looking at phase 1 here shown on the map, which is the renovation of the bank building and the annex. For phase 1, the project will consist of a cultural destination that places significant attention to the landmark building itself. The bank building's ground floor, that main banking hall space, will be occupied by a community incubator with leases anticipated for nonprofit organizations Arquitectos and VTech. VTech is a community-based nonprofit that specializes in workforce management and education to careers training and helped over 90 people start or restart businesses in their community in 2022. Arquitectos is a nonprofit 501c3 organization established in 1985 by Latino professionals as a networking and professional resource for Latino and Latina architects. In addition, the ground floor will be available as community space and special event space at the neighborhood and community's discretion. The upper floors of the banking hall space will be occupied by the new headquarters of JGMA, who are moving their HQ from River North to Humboldt Park, and they'll be bringing 50 jobs to the site. And finally, the annex building at the ground floor will be used for a community cafe and restaurant. The anticipated total project cost is $21 million, with $13 million coming from TIF. Shown here are the sources and uses for the project. DPD expects to subsidize the project in TIF amount up to $13 million. In addition, the developer is bringing debt financing, covering about 27% of the total project cost. They are working with First Nations Bank and Wintrust Bank to secure financing as we speak. Equity will come primarily from historic tax credits, which the developer is securing. Additionally, these are from federal historic tax credits. Additionally, the developer will be applying to receive state historic tax credits when they're available in February, which could generate an additional $3 million in equity. Given the nature of construction financing and the ever-increasing cost of redevelopment, DPD is comfortable moving forward with the financing for this project as proposed and with the TIF amount not to exceed $13 million. DPD is also anticipating that this amount will be sufficient to complete phase 1 renovation of the Pioneer Bank, but also leave enough room to have sufficient funds available to complete phase 2 when that financing is secured. And we again take that to CDC in the coming months. Shown here are renderings of the project and in the exterior of the bank building once it is complete. As I said, the project is looking to relocate 50 jobs from River North and generate an additional 20 new jobs while creating 450 construction jobs or temporary construction jobs. The project will also meet the city's MBE goals of 26 and 6 and fulfill the residency requirements, 50% local or Chicago hires. Therefore, DPD has thoroughly reviewed the proposed project, qualifications of the development team and the financial structure, and the need for public assistance, as well as its public benefits and its conformance with the RFP and redevelopment area goals and objectives. Therefore, DPD recommends that the CDC approve the resolution to approve Park Road development as a successful respondent to the Invest Southwest North Avenue Corner RFP for phase 1 of their project, designate Park Road development as a developer, and authorize DPD to enter into a redevelopment agreement with the developer, redevelop the site. Alderman Maldonado has provided a letter of support for this project as of December 8th, 2022, when you can find that in the staff report. Therefore, DPD requests that the CDC support this proposal. Thank you. And I'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Michael. Before we go to questions from the members of the commission, I'd like to acknowledge that Commissioner Cox, Commissioner Chan McKibben, and Commissioner Griggs have joined the meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is anyone I don't see Alderman Roberto Maldonado on. Is anyone on from his office? Michael, do you know?
I don't see anyone, no.
Okay, but we'll note that there was a letter of support supplied by the alderman, and it is included in the staff report that was submitted to the commission. Commissioners, do you have any questions for the department? Commissioner Wheat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple questions for staff. First, in terms of, just to make sure I understand what we're voting on today, we are voting on Park Road to be identified as the successful respondent to the RFP for both phase 1 and phase 2, for phase 1 and phase 2, or?
Just for phase 1 at this time.
Okay. So phase 2 will essentially sit there and then you'll come back to us.
Right.
Regarding phase 2. Okay. Okay.
Because it's primarily an affordable housing project, the expectation is the Department of Housing will be the lead organization going through CDC at that time, with DPD providing a support role.
Okay. Secondly, can you talk a little more about secondly, the role of the libraries is mentioned multiple times in the document. What's the status of discussions with public libraries on this?
So that's the phase 2 part of the project. That is in the new construction building, but just as a note for all commissioners and people in attendance, the library is committed to bringing a location at that site, relocating a current neighborhood branch from further west to the Pulaski Road site, and they'd be a tenant on the ground. Well, not a tenant, but they would be an occupant on the ground floor as proposed. But again, that is a phase 2 component of the project. Speaking holistically, they'll be on site, but not at this location. At this location will just be the nonprofit organizations, BTEC Arquitectos, JGMA, and then your restaurant and cafe tenant in the annex building.
Got it. And I guess my last question is, in terms of the timeline, the letter of support from the alderman suggested a desire, at least, to commence the project in the first quarter of 2023. I'm curious, given that 2023 starts in like 3 weeks, how realistic that timeline is.
That's certainly ambitious. If we can receive support today from the commission, we're going to move as fast as we can to get a redevelopment agreement passed and approved with the developer, I would say by the first quarter of 2023, with closing, as rapidly as we can move thereafter.
Okay, that's it for me. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Secretary Wheat. Commissioner Curtis, your hand is up, please.
Yes, thank you. Can you show the source and uses slide again, please? So the developer equity is less than 2% of the project, and just trying to get comfortable with that. It seems like an exceptionally low amount of developer equity?
Understood. And appreciate it as well.
Just for
I think-
purposes of the record, can you introduce yourself? Answering
Michael.
on, yes,
Oh,
thank you.
yeah, Michael Perley, Department of Planning and Development. Answering on behalf of the developer. Yeah, DPD reviewed that and noted that as well. I think for us, we were less concerned with that amount, given the challenging financing for an historic bank building. As I said, it's been vacant for well over a decade, and the and what the developer could bring to the table in terms of the jobs and overall activity to the site. And again, looking holistically at this proposal, this is a 50,000 square foot bank building, of which there's a limited amount of usable square footage in site in terms of getting not just equity to the end of the deal, but it's in terms of debt that you could generate from rents, so that we anticipated that we would have to subsidize a greater proportion of the overall project cost than we see in other deals.
As I understand it, the developer would actually be the one receiving a good portion of the soft costs. Is that correct?
We're talking about in terms of a developer fee,
Yeah,
I guess
who's going to those soft costs, and I'm not sure what all's included in there. I'm assuming the architectural design, plan, engineering, those kinds of things, obviously.
right. There's a decent amount of soft costs, including a lot of consultant costs as it relates to receiving the federal and potentially state historic tax credits. Yes, yes, they would have a fee.
And so a good portion of that would be going to that developer.
I mean, yes, they would have it. There would be a developer fee. Yes, I wouldn't say it was a good portion, but I take your meaning.
Thank you.
Mhm.
That's all I had. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Right, thank you, Commissioner Curtis. Are there other members of the commission that have questions? Commissioner Gomez.
Thank you, Chair. It's not so much of a question other than just to just highlight that it's nice to see. I'm familiar with the site. I grew up in that neighborhood, and it's nice to see that the building that I recall it as Banco Popular is getting reused and redeveloped in such a prominent corner, and also to just see the ownership level of the design team, the construction team reflect the community. So just kudos to the GPD team for ensuring that it's reflective of the community. Looking forward to seeing what comes of it.
Thank you, Commissioner Gomez, for those remarks. Commissioner Cox.
Madam Chair, I wanted to highlight a couple of points that I also feel are extremely strong in this proposal. One, obviously, is starting with the adaptive reuse of a shuttered historic building. That's a landmark building, so I know that's meaningful for the community, but also to see a leading Latino architectural practice moving from the Loop into a Latino neighborhood. There are not many signature design firms that make such a bold investment in our neighborhoods, and we certainly hope that this is a trend. I think also that was highlighted by Commissioner Gomez. The architect is part of the ownership and development structure, which is, again, unusual for architects to take this stage. So the mixture of a cafe, an event space, a nonprofit that cultivates Latino architects and a leading Latino practitioner is a bit precedent setting. And I'm looking forward to this model, and hopefully other downtown or loop-based practices following suit and moving into neighborhoods and becoming anchors in those neighborhoods. So again, very, very exciting to see the coalition that came together Pioneros to in a very, very creative response to the Invest Southwest RFP, to see them take this step and to lead with preservation is very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox, for those remarks. I actually have a question for the department. Can we go back to the capital stack page, please? Can you just speak to the level of TIF financing? Is this typical at over 60%? What are you seeing from a trend perspective for these?
This
types
is, sorry,
projects?
no, this is on the high side, to be honest. DPD is subsidizing this project, over 50%, Again, I think I spoke to this in the previous question regarding financing. One of two factors here. The size of the bank building, the 3-story space being, a greater portion of that being not leasable. The fact that the RFP was committed to bringing in community users and having community space there, that was not, that could, so therefore, the expectation would be that the rent would be not, I would say, a high market rent, and also that, so we were always anticipating for those factors that the subsidy amount would be greater. I think DPD and DOH have been working together because, again, this is phase 1 and phase 2, to make sure that this amount is, while on the high side, still justifiable in terms of the total project cost. That is the project cost, and not just this development, but the development is going to come on later, so that there are sufficient public funds available for the entire project. And as a result, I think we'd expect in phase 2, when that comes forward, that we'll have a TIF financing amount that's more in line with project trends in regard to public financing for TIF, and also one that'll be sufficient to make sure that the overall project is completed.
All right, thank you for that explanation. I believe there is a question or comment from the department? Terrence Johnson?
Yes, Terrence Johnson, Assistant Commissioner within DPD. I'd just like to add on to what Mike said there as well, is while it is on the high side of things, some of the other RFPs, some of the larger RFP projects are pushing the limits in terms of what we've done in the past, particularly given what we've seen in terms of material costs and labor costs as well, which has got that number a bit higher than what we've seen traditionally as well. Those costs are difficult in terms of making up in just traditional financing, in terms of whether it be lender financing or potentially equity financing, because those are dollars that lenders and equity providers just can't recoup, because it's just driven based on cost versus actual value. So yeah, the points that Mike made in terms of the costs are, while are valid, there's also that third thing of just the material costs and labor costs as well.
All right, thank you, Terrence, for those remarks. Are there any further questions from members of the commission? The chair will now invite members of the public who have used the raise your hand feature to be recognized by the chair. Each person called upon by the chair to speak will be limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. I don't see any hands raised. Kamal, can you confirm?
No hands raised, Chairwoman.
All right, thank you so much. If there are no further questions or comments regarding the proposed designation of Park Road Development as the successful respondent to the city's request for proposals, we will now call the item to a vote. The resolution before us recommends to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of Park Road Development as the successful respondent to a request for proposals issued by the Department of Planning and Development on April 23rd, 2021, for the purchase and redevelopment of the property located at 4000 to 4008 West North Avenue in the Pulaski Corridor Redevelopment Project area, and to request authority to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with Park Road Development, and to reject all other responses to the request for proposals. Do I have a motion?
Moved by Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Commissioner Cox. Do I have a
Second by
second?
Gomez.
Thank you, Commissioner Gomez. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Newsom, Secretary Wheat,
Yes.
Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Chan McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
No.
Commissioner Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Trevino,
Yes.
and Chair Butler votes yes. The motion passes. I'd like to acknowledge that Commissioner Davis has joined the meeting. Thank you, Commissioner Davis. For our second item on today's agenda, the Department of Planning and Development is requesting authority to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with American Blues Theater, NFP, for redevelopment of the property located at 5627 North Lincoln Avenue in the Lincoln Avenue Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of American Blues Theater, NFP, as developer. Garrett Ryu will present the staff report on behalf of the Department of Planning and Development.
All right, thank you, Chairwoman Butler, and good afternoon to members of the commission. Folks can see my screen, I assume, at this point.
Yes.
So for the record, my name is Garrett Ryu, Financial Planning Analyst with the Department of Planning and Development. With me today are my supervisors, Terrence Johnson and Tim Jeffries from DPD, and Director Wendy Whiteside from the development team. Also available are representatives from the developer's attorney at Safe Harbor Shaw LLP. They'll be here to answer any questions you may have. The resolution before you requests a recommendation to the City Council for the designation of American Blues Theater not-for-profit as the developer for the American Blues Theater project, and the authority for the Department of Planning and Development to negotiate a redevelopment agreement with the developer. The proposed project is in the West Ridge community, the 40th Ward, and the Lincoln Avenue TIF District. The project is located just northeast of the intersection of North California and Bryn Mawr Avenue. This slide shows a closer view of the site of the project on Lincoln. The site is currently a vacant storefront. The building was built in 1985 and was formerly a Dollar General. The developer has already purchased the property. The building will be redeveloped into the new home of the American Blues Theater. The new building will feature a 148-seat proscenium, a 40-seat studio space, along with back of the house operations, including a box office and dressing rooms. The project is expected to start construction in the first quarter of 2023 and complete construction in the fourth quarter of 2023, and is expected to create 6 full-time jobs, 4 retained positions, and 6 temporary construction jobs. This slide shows a site plan of the theater upon completion, including the main theater and studio space. Here we have the exterior rendering of the theater upon completion. American Blues Theater is a not-for-profit theater company created in 1985 that has presented many award-winning productions through its 37 seasons. American Blues Theater currently resides in the Lincoln Square neighborhood and puts on performances at theaters across the city. The development team's architect, John Morris, has designed several reuse and new construction theater projects, including Steppenwolf Theater, Noble Fool, Looking Glass Theater, and the Raven Theater, among others. Nick Santarelli of Lodestro Construction has worked with Morris architect planners on many recent projects, including the Chicago Magic Lounge and various buildings, rehearsal spaces, and recital halls for Northwestern University. Seyfarth Shaw LLP is working with the development team pro bono on this project. Total project cost is estimated to be approximately $7 million. The project will be funded by owner equity, lender financing, fundraising, and TIF funding. American Blues Theater, not-for-profit, purchased the property in March of this year with cash from donations and owner equity. The city intends to provide the developer with TIF assistance in an amount not to exceed $2.5 million or 35.4% of the total project cost. The city funds will be provided from the Lincoln Avenue TIF District's area-wide increment and provided to the developer in either one payment or 4 payments. The developer will have the option to accept a one-time payment of $2.5 million paid upon the issuance of the certificate of completion, or 4 incremental disbursements via an escrow account during construction. The 4th and final disbursement would be provided following the issuance of the certificate of completion. The project will have ongoing operations and occupancy covenants that ensure the developer will continuously operate the project in the manner agreed upon with the city of Chicago and ensure an average of 80 performances per year will be held at the theater. Additionally, restrictions on the sale of the project will be included in the final RDA. The proposed project will allow the following benefits to be realized: that the project will renovate a long vacant building and bring a new theater amenity to the neighborhood. The project is additive to the goals and objectives of the Lincoln Avenue North Arts District, and the project will drive economic development and is supported by the community as well as Alderman Vasquez. DPD has thoroughly reviewed the proposed project, the qualifications of the development team, the financial structure of the project, and the project's conformance with the redevelopment area plans. And DPD recommends that the CDC recommend to the City Council the designation of American Blues Theater NFP as the developer for the American Blues Theater project. DPD also requests that the Commission provide DPD with the authority to negotiate, execute, and deliver on the city's behalf a redevelopment agreement with the American Blues Theater NFP for the project. Alderman Vasquez was briefed on the project and the use of the TIF funds and is in support of this project. With that, we say thank you, and we welcome any questions you may have at this time.
All right, thank you so much. I'd like to recognize Alderman Andre Vasquez if he's present or if someone from his department is present.
Yes, Alderman Vasquez here, 40th Ward, present. Yeah, this is
so much for joining us.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me, and thank you for all the great work that you all do. Yeah, I just want to articulate, we are extremely excited about the potential here. Since taking office, we had looked at the stretch of Lincoln as becoming part of a arts district. We call it Lincoln Avenue North Arts District, or LANA. Part of that includes a $16 million streetscape from Western and Catalpa. This would be just outside of that, a block over, in a way that kind of resembles like a bookend to what we're trying to actually do. So there's a really crucial component of how it frames the rest of the community. We think it's an amazing use. The fact that we have the American Blues Theater in 40th Ward as we're adding other opportunities and experiences for our neighbors is key. So we are in full support and want to make sure we articulate that to this body. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your comments and for joining us today. It's very helpful. I understand that we have representatives from the American Blues Theater Company on today's call. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chairwoman.
All right, great. Thank you. Would you like to introduce yourselves and speak about your proposal? Garrett, were you expecting anyone from American Blues Theater to make comments?
Yes, Wendy Whiteside is here. She'll introduce herself now.
Hello, thank you very much for having me. My name is Wendy Whiteside. I'm the Artistic Director of American Blues Theater, and we're so honored to be here. American Blues is a theater nonprofit that's been around for 37 years in Chicago. This would be our very first permanent home in the city of Chicago.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and making yourself available for answer questions from members of the commission. I'd like to ask the commissioners if they have any questions for the department or for the American Blues Theater. Commissioner Curtis?
Yes, thank you. I have attended events at the American Blues Theater, and I've enjoyed them. I think this is a great plan. I am curious about the site you're moving from and what the plan is for that site. Do we know?
We're itinerant, so we have been renting at Stage 773 Greenhouse. Currently, we're at the Chopin with It's a Wonderful Life live in Chicago.
And will 773 continue there?
Stage 773 is now a bar, from my understanding.
Ah, thank you.
Sure.
Commissioner Curtis, do you have additional questions?
No, that was it. Thank you.
Do other members of the commission have questions or comments? The chair will now invite members of the public who have used the raise your hand feature to be recognized by the chair. Each person called upon by the chair to speak will be limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. I don't see any hands raised. Kamal, can you confirm that?
No hands raised, Chair.
Right, thank you so much. If there are no further questions or comments from members of the commission, I will now call the item to a vote. Commissioners, in the matter before us, the Department of Planning and Development is requesting authority to negotiate and enter a redevelopment agreement with American Blues Theater, NFP, for redevelopment of the property located at 5627 North Lincoln Avenue in the Lincoln Avenue Tax Increment Financing Redevelopment Project area, and to recommend to the City Council of the City of Chicago the designation of American Blues Theater, NFP, as developer. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Curtis.
Thank you, Commissioner Curtis. Do I have a second?
Second, Grace Chan McKibben.
Thank you, Commissioner Chan McKibben. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Newsom, Secretary Wheat,
Yes.
Commissioner Buford,
Yes.
Commissioner Chan McKibben,
Yes.
Commissioner Cox,
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis,
Yes.
Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Trevino,
Yes.
and Chair Butler votes yes, the motion passes.
Sorry,
Commissioner-
this is Leslie, Commissioner Davis. I was on mute.
All right, thank you so much, Commissioner Davis.
Is it yes?
Thank you. Commissioners, for our third and final agenda item, the Department of Planning and Development is seeking approval to convey the site of the Quad Communities Arts and Recreation Center in Ellis Park to the Chicago Park District. The long-term operation of the center at the southwest corner of East 35th Street and South Cottage Grove Avenue. Justin Peterson will provide the staff report for this item.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Justin Peterson. I'm a city planner in the Southeast Planning Region for the Department of Planning and Development. I'm also joined by Lisa Misher, Assistant Corporate Counsel for DPD. We're here today to request authorization from the Community Development Commission to convey 4 city-owned pins generally located at 3520 South Cottage Grove Avenue to the Chicago Park District for public open space and recreational use. Project is located in the 4th Ward, represented by Alderwoman Sophia King, also in the Oakland community area and the Bronzeville TIF.
I'm sorry, Justin, I'm going to have to interrupt you and ask Tim and Tim Jeffries and Bob McKenna to clarify something for the chair. Are we supposed to be in a public meeting? Should I have adjourned the regular meeting of the CDC and opened up a public meeting? I'm looking at the procedural notes, and it says that after the presentation is made, I'm going to adjourn the public hearing.
Lisa Misher is also on. I do not believe so. This is just a regular business item.
All right, thank you so much for that clarification, Tim. Dustin, I'm sorry for the interruption, but I wanted to make sure that we were following the correct procedures here, so please proceed.
No problem. Thank you. Again, my name is Justin Peterson, for the record. So the property is located at 35th Street and Cottage Grove and comprised of approximately 5 acres adjacent to Doolittle Elementary School in Ellis Park. It's the site of the Ellis Park Arts and Recreation Center, also known or formerly known as the Quad Communities Arts and Recreation Center. This site is just north of the former Ida B. Wells homes, now the CHA's Oakwood Shores redevelopment. And the Light of the Truth Ida B. Wells National Monument is just south of here at 37th Place. This slide depicts the project site comprised of 4 city-owned pins. The creation of the Arts and Rec Center was the result of a public-private partnership between the City of Chicago, the Chicago Park District, Chicago Housing Authority, Board of Education, and the Community Builders Incorporated, a nonprofit community development organization. The city acquired the property in 2014 in order to facilitate a new markets tax credit transaction. The slide illustrates the public open space zoning for the 4 pins. The net site area is approximately 232,610 square feet. So in terms of project history, in 2014, the CDC recommended and the City Council approved the city's acquisition of the property from the Chicago Park District and the Board of Education, and the city's subsequent lease of the property to a new entity created by the Park District and the Community Builders Incorporated for the purpose of securing the new market tax credits. Upon completion of the center, the new market tax credit entity subleased the property and the recreation center to the Park District for operation. The 2014 ordinance approving the city's acquisition of the property also approved the city's conveyance of the property to the Park District at the end of a 7-year tax credit compliance period, subject to hearings before the Chicago Plan Commission and the Community Development Commission. The slide depicts aerial views of the completed and existing facility looking north and looking southwest. And this slide shows the 2014 site plan and park improvements. And the slide illustrates the ground plan with an indoor pool, full-size basketball court and gym, and meeting and locker room facilities. Second level program is really primarily a terrace, an outdoor terrace at the center with mechanical spaces and open to below spaces on either side. And then again, the completed building, this is from Vincennes and East Browning looking north. And again, from South Cottage Grove looking southwest. So this slide indicates the sources and uses from 2014. The project was financed with $4.3 million in TIF funds, approximately $5.3 million in new markets tax credits, and an $8 million loan from the Chicago Housing Authority. The Chicago Plan Commission has approved the conveyance of the property to the Park District, and DPD staff has determined that the conveyance of the property to the Park District for continuing operation of the Arts and Rec Center is in conformance with the plan and in the public interest. So we're here today to ask for approval for the property conveyance. And DPD staff and Lisa Misher as well is here and available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Justin. Are there questions from the members of the commission? Secretary Wheat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for clarification, in terms of operational, I understand the property transitioning. Are there any differences in operational costs, either for the building or the site, for the Park District, CHA, the city, everybody?
I'd be happy to answer that. This is Lisa Misher from the city's law department. Not to my knowledge, this current structure where the city owns the property and is leasing it to this newly created 7 years ago tax credit entity, which then subleased the property to the Park District. That structure was simply for financing purposes. The Park District has been operating the center that whole period of time and will continue operating it now. With the financing for the operation of the center is not changing. The financing that you just saw was for the construction of the facility.
And just so, and Madam Chair, maybe one more question, just so that I understand, the original structure in 2014 was basically to utilize, I guess, why was the original structure put in place in order to facilitate the financing and using tax credits on that land to another
Yes.
entity? Because the city or the park district we can't take advantage of tax credits because we don't pay taxes.
Right, we had the new market tax credit statute requirements drove the whole deal and required really all the city, the CHA, the park district, the Board of Education. This was really a multi-public agency partnership and cooperation. We had to partner with this entity that could sell the tax credits. And that's why that entity was created.
Understood. Thank you. No other questions for me, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Secretary Weed. Are there other questions from members of the commission? I will now call upon members of the public who have used the raise your hand feature to be recognized by the chair. Each person called upon by the chair to speak will be limited to 3 minutes per agenda item. I don't see any hands raised. Kamal, can you confirm, please?
No hands raised, Chairwoman.
Great, thank you so much. The resolution before us requests approval for the city to convey approximately 4 acres of land located at the southwest corner of East 35th Street and South Cottage Grove Avenue, on which the site of the Quad Communities Art and Recreation Center in Ellis Park sits, to convey that property, that land, to the Chicago Park District. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Oh, that's okay.
All right,
Go
so
ahead.
I will take, I will have Commissioner Chan McKibben move it and seconded by Commissioner Wheat. Thank you so much. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, all votes are to be conducted by roll call so that each member's vote on each issue can be identified and recorded. Please signify your vote on approval of the motion by saying yes, no, or abstain. Vice Chair Newsom. Secretary Wheat.
Yes.
Commissioner Buford.
Yes.
Commissioner Chan McKibben.
Yes.
Commissioner Cox.
Yes.
Commissioner Curtis.
Yes.
Commissioner Davis.
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez.
Yes.
Commissioner Griggs.
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Trevino.
Yes.
And Chair Butler votes yes. Before we adjourn the meeting, I'd like to turn it over to Commissioner Cox just to make a few comments regarding some administrative staff changes. Thank you, Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And actually, my apologies for failing to state this at the beginning of the meeting. I was a little late in joining you, but as of December 1st, we've had some staff changes in the Bureau of Economic Development. Chip Hastings, who was the Managing Deputy Commissioner, has since taken a leadership position in the city's finance office. And that start date was as of December 1st. So it's a very exciting moment anytime we have a leadership transition in our department. It gives us an opportunity to rethink and reimagine what we do. And I'm pleased to inform you that Tim Jeffries has agreed to act as the acting managing deputy for the Bureau of Economic Development. And this will launch a period anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks in which we are going to go through a kind of strategic reimagining of the Bureau and in hopes of preparing ourselves for our next season in evolution. But I'm thrilled that Tim Jeffries has agreed to act in this role and to shepherd this next phase. So I'm just introducing you to our acting managing deputy, Tim Jeffries. And Tim, I don't know if you would like to say a word or two, and we can take any questions you might have.
No, just thank you, Commissioner Cox and Chairwoman Butler. Yeah, look forward to working, I guess, still with all the commissioners, in a slightly different capacity, I guess, but I think just early in 2023, Bob and I and some other staff people will be, working to just get some processes and things like that in place and for CDC, and make sure that we're getting you, all the information that you need, that you need to make your decisions and make this as easy as possible for you, because I know that this is no one's full-time job on this board, and so we want to make it as seamless as we can for you. So I think we're looking to hopefully have some of that stuff in place in February, starting with the February meeting, and go from there. I could say for the 2023 meetings, the next one will be January 10th at the normal time of 1:10, but we're going to try to we will be getting you the full list of 2023 meetings by the end of this week. So be on the lookout for that, and then we'll continue to engage you if we have any tweaks and just quality of life improvements for all of you as commissioners on this body.
Well, thank you, Tim. We look forward to working with you in your new role, your new expanded role. So welcome. And I would just ask the commissioners that if you have any suggestions for Tim, please direct them to him directly. I've enjoyed getting to know Tim and spent some time with him. And I think, he's going to work very, very hard to make our civic service as efficient as possible. So I just like to personally thank the commissioners, members of the commission, for your dedication to this role that you exhibited in 2022, and look forward to having a joyful and peaceful holiday season with your friends and family. And we will begin our work again in early January. So, have a wonderful holiday, everyone. May I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Great. Don't everybody speak at once. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Holidays.
Bye.
Bye-bye.